I normally don't include movies here, but it's getting tougher to ignore their impact, and this is no exception. The 100-meter race may seem like a simple topic, but the way this focuses on the competitive nature and the internal struggles all these characters deal with their own circumstances is really fascinating. From fighting to stay on top to the crushing realization that you're not as good as you were, and those trying to prove the doubters wrong, plus much more. Plot-wise, I think it would have benefited from a bit more time to build up the cast, especially in the third act, but in terms of animation, this has some of the most breathtaking sequences ever in anime. The rotoscope 2D animation works beautifully to convey the human emotion and movement, and the speed and drama of these runs. The race in the rain scene should have been enough to nominate this for an Oscar, for God's sake. 5 minutes of continuous mind-blowing stuff. I swear this would have made me take up running if I was back in school. You gotta watch this. And check out Orb while you're at it. I didn't think I'd even check this out because, come on, we all memed about the horse girls a few years back, but I was curious to see why Cinderella Grey was any different, and man did I get hooked. Surprisingly, just like 100 meters, the racing here works so well in getting you hyped, with some great animation you wouldn't expect, cool special effects, and the killer soundtrack I can't get enough of, which you heard in the first few minutes. And not to mention some top-notch character building that brings it all together. Again, I had no clue about this series going in, and now I adore Ogurika. Heck, almost all the cast is so fun to watch. Even the minor characters that get a few shots in during the races. Really helps deliver some big win moments to even some emotional scenes, and not just focus on the main character, which is another huge plus. Glad I checked this out before I finished my list. Made me a huge believer. But I'm not falling for the gacha trap, let's be real. Two more sequels I really enjoyed this year, both built up from their first season flawlessly, with Apothecary bringing more drama and higher stakes, plus the tension with Mao Mao and Jinji building up. Glad this show caught on so well. Very fun to hear friends who aren't big anime fans giving it a go. And Dandadan just keeps on piling on these crazy as hell characters and insane moments. Really fun to see them slowly build up Okarun and Momo's relationship, better than a lot of romance shows, while not letting go of the wacky ideas and the spirit of the series. Still very happy Science-Aru keeps on delivering. Not much else to say, just thankful for these great sequels. Jump into the night, cause now the trouble. I know it's not Japanese, but don't let nitpicks stop you. This is a banger of a show. In a landscape filled with superhero content, To Be Hero X stands on its own with the whole number of followers equals power idea, which is expanded on a ton. So many intertwining arcs with new characters, with a hint of mystery and suspense, anticipation with the hero rankings, along with the cool action and the changing styles of animation, with different forms of 2D to some of the smoothest 3D visuals I've seen. Just take X scenes where he snaps reality back and forth as a sign you need to check this out, because this is creativity to another level. A bit of a slower middle stopped me from putting it higher, but this really is special. With shows like this, Link Click and Lord of Mysteries, China has more than earned a spot at the table. I really hope we get more of this show. KyoAni just hits different. I'd really loved Nichiyu back in the day, and still go back to a bunch of the clips, so I was so happy to see City get its opportunity, and I was grinning ear to ear watching it. Genuinely the best feel-good show of the year for me. I will say some jokes don't hit as well as its predecessor, partly by giving more focus to the sidecast, but when the gags hit, they freaking hit. And I'm not saying the wider range of focus is bad, because it helps to ground you in this crazy city and fall for its plethora of personalities, and its endearing sense of community, and it builds some nice arcs in between the insanity. Echan and Matsuri being my personal favorite, even bringing me to tears. And that's not even mentioning the superb animation, like oh my god. If Nichiyu already looked beautiful, this goes beyond. Seemingly no limit on building up a joke, exaggerating a reaction, or just plain looking great. I think episode 5's multi-view segment is all you need to see how hard the visuals can go. I was continually impressed by each and every episode. I loved it so much I even picked up this Wako keychain while I was in Japan. It was wonderful to experience a show this vibrant, colorful, and lovingly animated. Live on forever, KyoAni. Not a lot of rom-coms made it this high, but Fragrant Flower is more than enough to rep. I was originally scared the whole boys versus girls plot point was gonna tank the show, but they quickly shut me up with how charming and lovable it is. And of course, because of Waguri and Rintaro, like, wow. Right away, one of my favorite pairings ever. It's so nice to see them develop as characters and grow closer to each other, because they also feel very relatable. And it's great that the sidecast adds to them, rather than take. Feels like a friend group you'd love to be a part of. And it's Cloverworks, so you know it's beautiful to look at, and it knows when to crank it up to 11 for the gutsy stuff, and for a ton of hard-hitting emotional moments, like Rintaro's past and his relationship with his mom, one of my favorite episodes of the year. Just a rom-com done oh so right, and as a chronically single guy, I would know. One of the most stressful, gut-wrenching shows I've ever seen. It holds no punches in relaying this story of abuse and parental negligence, and how it can go into this rabbit hole of bullying, violence, and drama. Takopi himself tries to be this beacon of innocent hope, just trying to make everything all magically better, and even if there's a glimpse of light at the end of the tunnel, it's never that simple. One thing though, for most of the year, I was sure this would have been my number one, no contest. But the big thing stopping me is rewatchability, because this is really tough to stomach a second time. Like, this has content warning labeled all over it, but I did feel fully invested in these characters from the get-go, and it pained me to see them suffer or go down the wrong path. Lots of times where I was speechless, frozen, or had to take a few minutes just to process what the heck happened. And that's not even mentioning how great the direction was. The spectacular visuals with all the range of emotions and seriousness done perfectly, and the stupendous voice acting that made everything feel real, along with the great soundtrack and sound design. It's an anime experience I'm never gonna forget. And I adore Takopi so much. I had to spend so much yen to get this plushie, but so worth it. This was just so much fun. I still really like the first season of Chainsaw Man, but I do see why there were some comments about the direction and stuff like that, but I think the movie helped me understand even more why the series is so beloved. From what I've gathered, this is an extremely faithful adaptation of the arc, and it does feel that way. The animation team nailed the insanity and fight scenes, but more importantly the nuance of the relationships and characters in this arc, with Denji and Rez's bonding that still tugs on my heartstrings, as well as Foraki, the Angel, and Makima. And never holding back on the comedic tone and hilarious gags in between all of it. And just to hit it home again, this is such a beautiful film to look at. I know the Academy wasn't gonna nominate an anime sequel, but this easily should have been recognized. Add the music and the great voice acting, and you had magic on the big screen. Can't wait to see what's next. It genuinely never really hit me that My Hero Academia was ending until it happened. 10 years. My Hero was right there at the start of my full dive into anime. I instantly became a huge Deku fan, the underdog with a heart of gold, the wide-eyed emotional dreamer. I couldn't help but root for him. And seeing his growth throughout the years, seeing the amazing moments, and this cast and world change season through season was just fun. It was the quintessential reason I fell for anime. So easy to convey and transmit those feelings of joy, determination, bitter pain, and the crazy hype that gets you fist pumping at the screen. And being able to see how impactful this series was, and seeing ads on huge city streets over in Tokyo, it sinked in how much it meant to me. Sure, we had a bit of a speed bump on season 5, but I've been on the MHA hype train since the start. All these iconic characters with every arc, from USJ to Deku's Awakening to Eri's Rescue to Redemptions and every shock and fight, and how they made me feel are stuck on my brain forever. And it also really helps that Bones locked in hard for this finale. Like, they were already doing great in season 6, but they showed off with the amazing adaptation to Horikoshi's work with stellar animation and visuals. And of course their hard-hitting voices and blood-pumping soundtrack. Gonna have All Might's Rescue on loop for years to come. I could try to be more objective and give the spot to an anime with better production, visuals, or a deeper, more complicated story, but I just replayed the Deku running scene with Yusei Run in the background, with tears in my eyes still, and I know what my answer is. Very, very cheesy, I know, but it is that. A perfect example of a great shonen. Very grateful to have experienced this show from start to satisfying finish. I'm so ready for the OVA though. I know I'm gonna be a crying mess all over again. And that's my top 30 anime from last year. Took a lot longer than I wanted, but here we are. It was a really good year for anime, so I'm sure we might have some different opinions on it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below. As to what's next for the channel, I kinda don't know. It does seem like it's tougher to stand out in the algorithm, and it gets a little demoralizing when you get to editing and recording, and it doesn't really reflect views-wise and all that. So I'll see how this one does. So if you enjoyed this, I'd love if you can do the whole comment, sub, and like thing, and share if you feel like it. I do plan to upload some shorts about my Japan trip for a change of pace, but anime-wise, I'm still undecided. Maybe streaming reactions, short content, tier lists, who knows. I still really enjoy anime, but I don't want to burn out just to pump out content, you know? Any recommendations, I'm all ears. But for now, I hope you're having a good start to the year, and I will see you all next time.